Dear Canada, my name is Alishia Fox and I am Canadian. I used to be really proud to declare that about myself, and it used to mean really great things on the world stage, but now, not so much. What do I mean by that, you may ask? Well, first off, Canada has been named Fossil of the Year at the recent climate change conference in Copenhagen. We were named this because our government brought absolutely nothing to the table on global agreements for climate change. And in fact, our government did more to block progress on a global scale than anything. How embarrassing, Canada! Second is, of course, our highly guarded tradition of commercial sealing, the great Canadian seal hunt. What a shame. This is why wearing a Canadian flag on your backpack no longer guarantees kind and friendly service while visiting foreign countries, especially in Europe. I, for one, am sick of being labeled as a fossil of a country. I'm sick of being labeled as seal-bashing Neanderthals, and I'm sick of our country being full of people who resist change at our highest levels of government. We are looking like fools on the world stage, and our government is only making it worse. Under the Charter of Rights, I'm voicing my dissent to our government's actions with regards to this outdated and dying industry as part of the International Day of Protest of the Canadian Seal Hunt. Let me first state that I am not part of any animal rights group. No, I'm not with PETA, and no, I'm not asking for donations. I am a Canadian taxpayer. I have a voice, I have a vote, and I have the right to oppose the actions of our politicians. This is how our tax dollars are being spent. There are two hunts in Canada. The commercial seal hunt accounts for 97% of the seals killed. The other 3% are killed by the Inuit Indigenous hunt. They have separate quotas, making them two hunts altogether. Our government is trying its best to confuse the two very different seal hunts in Canada. They are hiding behind the natives and trying to confuse you. Why? Because if any politician opposes the hunt, they would stand to lose the 7 seats held by Newfoundland in Parliament. Canada spends $7 million in taxpayers' money every year to add Coast Guard support to the hunt, campaign for the hunt, and of course travel costs for said campaigning. Last year's hunt only brought in $1 million and accounts for less than 1% of Newfoundland's total economy. The appeal to the World Trade Organization to overturn the European Union ban is estimated to cost another $10 million. I'm going to start with a recap of what has happened over the last year or so with regards to the seal hunt in Canada. Russia bans its seal hunt. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin called seal hunting a bloody industry. The Prime Minister acknowledged the fact that some communities would be affected financially and has invested money in trying to develop new ecotourism markets, along with compensating the hunters that directly lose income. Senator Mac Harb introduces a bill to effectively put an end to the commercial seal hunt in Canada. His bill did not go through, as not one other senator backed him up with a secondary vote. This is very uncommon. In fact, it never happens. A few weeks later, the DFO's minister, Gail Shee, used taxpayers' money to send out 3 press releases attacking the Liberals. That's a big no-no. Using tax dollars for politics is not legal. During the hunt in 2009, more and more sealers stayed home after not being able to find many buyers and after learning that the price of pelts dropped. In 2008, it was $30 a pelt. This was reduced in 2009 to only $15 a pelt. The EU passed a law that it would enforce a ban on all seal products in Europe, with an exception for the Inuit and Aboriginal hunt. The Inuit are still allowed to trade products amongst themselves. Seal products are currently banned in the USA, Belgium, Netherlands, Mexico, Croatia, and Slovenia, and now the EU. The very next day, after the EU ban was announced, Parliament voted on the idea to have Canadian Olympians support the seal hunt in Canada by incorporating seal fur into their uniforms. This was quickly shot down by the Olympic Committee. Our Governor General, Michelle Jean, attends an Inuit community festival and eats a raw seal heart. She knows exactly what she's doing. First and foremost, it's a snub to the EU. Secondly, it's time to start the campaign to confuse the two hunts. It's propaganda, people. Stephen Harper and cabinet ministers eat seal meat on a trip to Rankin Inlet. The media is told that seal meat will now be available on the Parliament menu. Another snub to the EU. When Canada hosted the G7 in Nunavut, Jim Flaherty tried to force-feed the G7 finance ministers seal meat while dining on sealskin-covered chairs and other small sealskin decor that was about the room. All of the ministers declined. Alishia travels to China to promote seal products. First she states, China is a huge market, and then she goes on to say, we're going to have to create a market in China. Well, which is it, Minister? Is there a market or is there not? The Minister of the DFO is pied by a member of PETA during a press conference because of the seal hunt. Our government quickly resorted to calling this pie-wielding woman a terrorist. Really? A terrorist? What she did was wrong, but a pie in the face has no comparison to a suicide bomber. Senator Céline Hervieux-Payette travels north to promote her Universal Declaration for the Ethical Harvest of Seals. The document simply recaps regulations that are already in place in Canada. I find it kind of funny because the EU already thought that these regulations were being enforced in Canada when they reached a majority vote to ban seal products. I wonder how much of our tax dollars the senator spent on this ridiculous trip. Her document wasn't even signed. Also, Senator Céline is trying her hardest to confuse the Aboriginal sustenance hunt with the commercial hunt, stating in her blog that there is only one hunt in Canada. Well, Senator, you are wrong. There are two. Senator Céline also writes in her blog that anti-seal hunting vegetarians are in a panic right now. She thinks that we're panicking because of all the progress that she's making. The only progress that she is making and that our government is making on this issue is more and more embarrassment for your average Canadian on the world stage. It is, in fact, our government who is in a panic right now. These desperate tactics are proof. The day after Senator Céline's blog about how the anti-seal hunting vegetarians are in a panic came out, it was announced that there would be no hunt on Hay Island this year. It seems that even our government couldn't help find any buyers for the pelts. Campaigns were led against potential buyers. Campaigns were led against potential transport companies, asking them to refuse to carry the cargo. Okay, so now that you're up to date, March 10th, 2010, Senator Céline and 30 guests, including the Minister of the DFO, Alishia, plan on eating seal meat in the Parliament for the very first time. Another attention-grabbing gimmick and another embarrassment for Canadians. But not to worry, seal meat isn't actually on the Parliament menu. It has to be ordered in advance specially. You'd think that with all the pups killed each year and a very small market for the meat, we'd have some available. But this is actually not what they are killed for. It's only a political gesture because these animals are killed for their fur for fashion, period. Now the biggest question is, will the 2010 seal hunt even happen? This year marks the record in the past 6 decades for the lowest amount of ice flows in the St. Lawrence where the hunt takes place. This could have a really dangerous effect on the seals' populations because that's where they breed. It will make it really, really difficult for anyone trying to hunt these seals. Is Mother Nature trying to tell us something, like leave them alone? I think so. The majority of Canadians are against the commercial seal hunt because it's just not worth the money, it's inhumane, no one wants fur anymore, and this is becoming highly embarrassing for Canada. The world is changing, and Canada needs to keep up instead of blocking progress at every turn. All of these political gimmicks are actually doing nothing to change the ban or help the sealers or help the industry at all. It is a bigger waste than the hunt itself. We need to spend our tax dollars investing in alternative solutions for those who stand to lose income. With the amount of tax dollars Ottawa is spending to try and keep this sinking ship afloat, they would be better off abandoning ship and cutting checks to the sealers for the equivalent of what they would make on the hunt. They would save millions of dollars that could be put to use for much more important things, like maybe developing some kind of plan that doesn't make us the fossil of the year for the next climate change conference. Thanks for listening, Canada. Bye.